Get to the chopper!
Get to the chopper! That's most probably the most famous line from the series Predator, the movie. And when I heard they were going to do another Predator movie, I was like, oh no, not again. Because the last few movies, Alien vs Predator, the Predator or Predators or whatever it was called, it was, to make matters worse, when I saw the trailer, it was about a young female warrior from the Comanche tribe trying to take over the predator and subdue it and kill it. I'm like, oh my gosh, please, not another kind of movie that goes woke, because if you do that, you'll go broke. It has proven from time and time again, if you do a movie just to push the message of social justice warrior, not that some issues should be addressed in the real world, but when you mix it up with entertainment, it kind of gets stale. And I was in a way mortified going into this movie. But I was just thinking, how is this film going to work? I mean, in the original Predator, Arnold Schwarzenegger and a team of commandos, one by one, was picked out, destroyed, and spit out like garbage. And police officers, SWAT team, whatever you name it, the film that goes after that, everyone of them was ticked off. How can a small little girl from an Indian tribe triumphant over a predator? I just got to find out. And when the trailer dropped, I saw bits of it. I must admit, intrigued.
Whatever did this, I can kill it.
So let's get the thing out first. This movie was directed by Dan Trachtenberg, Dan something. Okay, he directed 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I thought was kind of competent. Film actually stars indigenous people, culturally appropriate people, if you might call it. It stars Amber Midthunder as Naru, a young girl from this particular tribe, who basically doesn't want the typical life of the woman in the tent, making food, gathering sweet potato, whatever. She wants to be a hunter, and that is her motivation. The film actually do set up her interests. There's copious amount of her training, and she tries to hunt a deer, and it goes horribly wrong. Besides her, there's this particular dog, Coco the dog, a wonderfully trained dog. At times really steals the show for me. But let's put the matter to rest. This is not a modern day tale of a predator movie. This is supposedly be the first time the predator comes to Earth, most probably to hunt, and it meets this particular tribe of people. And the story is basically set in the 1700s, and the Comanche Indians are hunters and gatherers, and on one side is also the French colonists who comes in and try to take over their land. It has the story of the predator coming into the midst of things. It does do a little bit of social commentary about colonialism and how people from the West comes in and steals and rob the indigenous people's land and their food. So there's a bit of it, which I must admit, I kind of enjoyed it. It wasn't really too heavy-handed. The only thing I had a problem was that the French were depicted as dirty, grimy people, colonists, whereby the Indian Comanche people was basically depicted as very, very clean, almost looking like Calvin Klein models, anorexic to the T. But I think this is kind of like, I wouldn't say reverse racism, but I think this is the opposite of what the old movies used to be about how the Indians were portrayed in Hollywood. So this is basically the middle finger back to them, which I get it. I don't mind it. But what I liked about this film is that I'm led to believe that this is the first time that a predator is on Earth. So everything is new, including how he hunts, who he hunts, what it hunts, and it's pretty evident that we see that he hunts the alpha, whether it's the alpha predator, an alpha bear, or in most cases the alpha humans that he goes after. And the set pieces was fantastic. It was gory. I mean, people limbs were cutting. The predator has some weapons we have never seen before, like a net and a shield, which was quite refreshing. His console, which is on his wrist, is a more watered down version, because if this was 200 over years before the actual Commando movie, it makes sense that his technology is not that advanced yet. Okay, so this film was pretty constant, gorgeous cinematography. For what reason why this film was not launched in the cinema, I have absolutely no idea.
Not a great plan.
The cinematography at times were really breathtaking. The tone and pacing was extremely serious. It wasn't, basically to me, as far as I'm concerned, it didn't really push any SJW or woke agenda as far as I can tell. Maybe just a little bit, but it's not that very obvious. It was also refreshing that the actors that were supposed to be acting the tribe, they were really, or they looked to me, real indigenous actors in that role. They spoke Comanche and they spoke English, which is a bit odd because the English that they actually spoke sounded like modern English. And even if the Comanche did speak English because they needed a trade at that time, historically, the English wouldn't be the kind of slang that we use, or wouldn't be the approach of how we use adjectives and pronouns. But hey, who cares, right? The only thing that I may want to indulge is that I have a problem with the comparison of this particular film Prey and that of the Predator. The internet is abuzz with this particular film, and it is a pretty good film. It is a pretty good standalone prequel, as you may see if you guys have seen it for yourself. And everyone's saying that, oh, this is the best thing since the original. Some of them say that it's better than the original. I would say no, it's not, because the original has characterizations, proper characters from the commandos and each and every one of their personalities, how they fought, their dreams and aspiration. You can really feel the camaraderie of the people from the original film. Whereas this particular film, I had a problem. I'm not so sure whether they were forced to address certain problems from Predator 2, whereby Danny Glover was given a pistol from 1715 from the Predator because he defeated the Predator, so he was given as a gift, like a trophy. So I'm not so sure whether this movie was just written just to address that issue. So that's one of the problems which I had. If that's the case, and the Predator from Predator 2 has that pistol, that means the aliens would come back after Naru wins and defeats the Predator and gets the pistol. They would just come back and kill everyone, and they take the pistol for himself as a trophy. So that's a bit odd foreshadowing for me. I also have a problem with certain things, like for example, they forced the line,
if it bleeds, we can kill it.
Now in the original Predator, when Arnold Schwarzenegger says, if it bleeds, we can kill it, it's because they tried killing what they couldn't see. And by shooting lots of bullets in the forest, they found its blood, a trail of its blood, luminous blood. So hence that line is justified. But for this particular film, it just kind of seems forced.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
It's like a nod to the original, just a tidbit for the fans who are fans of the Predator, so that to let them know that we are in sync with you. I find that's really unnecessary. It's like panhandling the fans, which you don't need to if your film is strong and can stand by itself. I have another problem, and that is that the character of Naru is very stoic. From the word get-go, she just basically has one expression. It's just bleh, right? The film tries to show that she's a strong female that's quite stubborn and has her own thinking on what she want to do. I'm not an expert of American Indian culture, but I don't think so. Women of the 1700s would really be allowed to voice those opinions freely, and that also makes me have a bit of unbelievability of it. I really can't wrap my head around some of her character behavior. I can understand why she's written that way so that the film can happen, but somehow or other it's nagging at me. So I kind of find that she's quite one track. Kind of reminds me of Qui-Gon Jinn from Star Wars Episode 1 Phantom Menace. It's just stoic all the way. And the film has a very contrived kind of approach to characters, like the character that doesn't believe that women should be hunters, they should belong to the kitchen kind of character, or the very stable, level-headed leader that gives advice but dies and sacrifices himself for the cause. It's pretty substandard, if you ask me, why they must include this bland trope. And throughout the film, even though we were meant to believe that the girl Naru was training to be a hunter, she failed miserably, and then all of a sudden she can defeat the French colonists that captured her single-handedly without even laying a big blow to herself. She also could defeat the Predator at his own game by using the hat or his helmet to use it as a laser targeting system and let it commit suicide by its own harpoon. I mean, it's a bit of a stretch for me to believe that someone like that would be able to pull this off in such a short time, even though you try and plant to me that she's a good hunter, and yet her first hunting skill of trying to get a deer, she messes up completely. It kind of contradicts itself, but what the hell do I know? Take nothing away from this film. The film is better than the other sequels per se, from Predator 3, Predators onwards. It's just slightly better than Predator 2 to my opinion, but it's definitely not better than the original Predator. So sorry internet, I don't believe and I don't agree with you on that. I think this is the right direction. Don't make a Prey 2 whereby we have the same characters and the aliens come. We've been there, done it, move on. Get the Predator franchise to another kind of timeline. Like, Predator comes down to another country, say for, I don't know, Japan, and then fights with samurai, or Victorian England and fights with, I don't know, Sherlock Holmes or what. I mean, there are many avenues that you can explore. Don't go back to the same thing. Why not let them fight minions? Now that would be a film that I'll watch. So this film is not too bad. It could have been worse, believe me, it could have been worse. So I thoroughly enjoyed it for what it's worth on the surface level. It was entertaining. Overall, this film is competent. I would definitely recommend you to watch it if you have 2 hours of your time. I would give this film an A-. So watch it if you have time. It's at least worth 2 hours of your time. So that's my review for Prey. Come back anytime soon. Please click like and subscribe to my channel if you like my reviews. Click on the notification button if you want to be notified of any future videos. And as always, come back to my room right here. The room is always open. Bye bye now.